How the heck are you, everybody? I'm Fastidious. Welcome to my channel. Buckle up. Buckle up. That's basically all I can say. You know, I harken back to an expression I used to say all the time. If you've been viewing me for a while, you know this. Holy guacamole. Sincerely, this ancient summonings banner, that is coming. I'm not gonna be able to stop talking like that now. But oh my god, I'm like borderline speechless. This is what banner dreams are made of. The hype that I'm going to give it right now and the hype that I'm sure all the other creators and your other friends are going to be giving it is going to be worth it. Let's go, you know who can explain this really well? Let's go back to me 5 days ago. Let's go back in time when I was describing what a hypothetical ancient banner I'd be interested in would look like. Why didn't you talk about ancient summoning, Fastidious? Well, because why would I? Until they tell me more about this. If this is just, hey, there's ancient summoning, and that's the end of the sentence, and there's no 10x, so we can't make that decision, and they're not introducing any new heroes to the pool, I don't know what's to entice me. Or Uredin has yet to be added to the pool. Uredin is going to be an even more powerful creep potentially than Ardia, so why would I waste my chances? I don't see any lords rated up that I have my eye on. There's no Soul Cadence raid up, you know, there's no Cyrus raid up, so I'm waiting, and I really think everyone should. Well, there you go. I said, why would I pull? Uredin's not even in the pool. I wasn't even thinking about Uredin making a 10x. And I said, there's no legendary lord I'm interested in, like Soul Cadence or my favorite, Cyrus. Well, we're getting Cyrus. We're getting Uredin not just in the pool, but on a 10x. And then I didn't even mention Pelagios because I didn't think they'd be throwing him on a 10x. He's a brand new, cracked out hero from the brand new faction. He's so good, and he's my favorite design in the game. I'm not gonna spend, but this is what, if they were like, hey, let's design a banner to try to get Fasty to spend, that's this banner. This banner, my sweet god. I also gotta say, I was talking with Wumbo, and he's like, this is where the game changes. Perhaps this is, because especially if you're very high level and you're competitive, whether that be in Guild Wars or that be in you know, PvP content, like specifically Arena, or you're preparing for other PvP GVG content to come in the future, this is going to be separate the among the whales and the krakens in the game. This banner is going to separate the boys from the men. This banner is insane. It really is insane. So let's talk about it. Let's get into it, and I'll do a full kit breakdown for each. We'll see how deep a dive it gets, but I will do a proper breakdown for each. Let's dive right in.
Fastidious.
Fastidious.
All right, guys, let's start it off, and let's start with my boy Cyrus. And I'm just going to tell you right now, there's part of me that thinks I'm going to get him. I've had bad legendary lord luck for the amount I pull. I've only ever pulled off one random ancient. I got Morrigan. From all my other summons, I've never gotten anything else. And anyone that's been watching me knows Cyrus is my most wanted ever since he came out. Now here he is on a 10x. I kind of feel like I manifested it. There's part of me that thinks it's destiny and it's time for me to get my Cyrus. I would lose my mind. Let's get into his kit. First off, someone was getting in my comments saying I'm saying all the heroes look good. Well, I like the design in this game, but you can't tell me this hero doesn't look good. My sweet god, everything about it. The armor, the cape, this frickin' sword, man. Oh my god, I love Cyrus. He is a tank. He is a magic damage dealer and a damage dealer indeed. He is a legendary lord of the Esotericist. He is their ancient exclusive lord. He's got a great talent. He's got great skills. I've never even looked at his awakenings. We're going to have to get into that. How about we start with the bad? He's 25 cost. That's heavy. Similar to another tank lord we've got, right? Similar to Torador. He's also 25. I really feel like 25 is pushing it. But he's going to work for tons and tons of content. And regardless, when you see his lord skill, you might not even need to place him sometimes. He's so good. Let's start also with the great stuff. What is this frickin' range? This is his default range, 4 tiles. This is Ardia range. This is absurd, and it works really well with his summoning abilities. So let's get into the actual kit. Immediately summons 1 skeleton warrior within 2 tiles ahead when deployed. So if we go to a Skeleton Warrior, a summoned unit that possesses significant portions of the summoner hero's attributes, able to attack and block one enemy. So it's kind of like he shares his stats with this little summoned creature. He's a proper summoner, right? A very cool thing within 2 tiles ahead. So you can get Skeleton Warriors, 1 in front of him or 2 in front of him. He does summon 1 other type of little minion to help him out. Let's go to the basic attack here. Multiple enemies in range. So all of a sudden, this is going to be critical here. We're going back to this vague multiple thing. What happened with Ardia saying 7, you know, and those great things we've had lately? Now we're back to what we get with Valkyria that just says multiple. Just tell us the number. Just freaking tell us the number. We shouldn't have to go try to find the right content to test this in and count the horrible numbers that are hard to read anyway to figure out how big this AoE actually is. Just tell us the number. But this goes up to 120%. It is a proper AoE from the little testing I've done and what people have told me that actually have already been lucky enough to pull him. Let's go straight to the ult. So it's going to summon 1 skeleton fighter, not to be confused with our skeleton warrior. So let's go there. Summoned unit. It possesses a few of the summoner hero's attributes, able to attack and block one enemy. Compare that to the warrior, possesses significant portions, right? So the warriors are stronger than the fighters, but you can summon these far more consistently, which is kind of crazy. Because look at this, Cyrus, even though he is a esotericist, who are infamous, let's say, for having very high cost ults, his ult goes down to 550, excuse me, math. 550. That's so dirt cheap. It's going to happen within 2 tiles ahead and increases there and the hero's damage by 100% and attack speed by 60 for 10 seconds. So the skeleton fighter will be a lot stronger when it's initially summoned. Super strong. Here's a great little animation of what it looks like. So it looks like he's got a warrior, and then, if I'm not mistaken, yes, and then let's wait for it to happen. Oh my god, come on, there. And now a fighter appears in front, right? So you can tell these guys are different. Very cool stuff. Damage can increase here pretty significantly. That's the damage boost. And then, of course, the attack speed boost also can go up to straight 100. It's very strong. He's a defender. We'll get into his base stats in a second, but he's got good stats, and he puts out some proper damage. Now let's go here to his passive, Lord of the Undead. 40% of incoming damage will be absorbed by the hero's summons. So the summons don't just work as like little helpers, they're also basically shields for him. So he adding extra tankiness, letting you focus more on his damage. When the hero receives fatal damage, one of the summons will be sacrificed to resist the damage. So that second part, it's not about this 40% thing anymore. It's just if any shot, whether it be worth 1 damage or 1 billion damage, if that would have taken Cyrus down, it all is going to go to his summon. That guy's going to take the fatal damage. Cyrus is going to hold on. Damage taken from the first portion can go all the way up to, what is this, 60%, pretty significant. And now we go here, King's Wrath. He's a king indeed, let me tell you. When the HP of the hero's summons is below 50%, increases the attack speed by 60% and damage by 30%. So now they're popping off with even more damage. This attack speed boost can go up to 100, and the damage boost can go up to 50. That is multiplicative. And then here, the Lord skill, the juiciest of them all. So he's got some basic stuff. So the first part's exactly the same as Venoma, right? 15% attributes, that's the same as all legendary lords, and then same as Venoma, it reduces faction allies skill costs by 25%. So that's really worth noting with him, right? Because he already had a pretty dirt cheap cost. So his cost already goes into 550 if you skill him out. If I get him, I'm going to max skill him. There's no doubt in my mind. I'm just going to do quick math here. So 25% of 500, right, would be 12.5. So that 25% of 50 would be 12.5. So 25% of 500 would be 125. He has slightly more. It's called 130 or so. So it's about 420 costs is what he's working with. He's popping off. He's summon. It doesn't matter if they absorb the fatal damage and die. Our boy's going to be slap-a-dapping. Now let's continue the last part. It's just such a good skill and such a nice synergy with the Esotericist. When an ally is defeated or retreats, and this includes his summons, increases the damage of other faction allies by 25% for 8 seconds. This is not like Laurel when you pick her up and you do a rage boost or something. It just increases all faction allies anywhere on the map. The effect can be triggered 1 time every 12 seconds. If he's popping off with those summons enough and it's hard enough content where they're dying all the time, you're going to have a tremendous amount of uptime for all your faction ally Esotericists with 25% increased damage. Who do we have for faction ally damage dealers, right? Comet, one of the most famous in the game, and oh, who's this little power creepy guy that everyone can't stop talking about? Boreas is an Esotericist, guys. Come on. That's crazy. I love him. I love Cyrus. I really, if I need Legendary Lords, I'm at that point in the game for myself, and I love Esotericists. I just pulled Boreas 3 times while I was trying to get my Cetrum. I love Comet. I love Elowin. I love Ezrin. I love the Esotericist faction. And if I had to pick one faction I want to get a Legendary Lord from without being greedy and saying Soul Cadens or Twin Fiend, right? Because I try not to be too greedy. We got the 10x on Cyrus. I would love, love, love to get this guy. Let's go into his Awakenings. I normally don't like to do this, especially with such exclusive stuff. But I know for a fact people are going to kraken on this banner. So for these 3 heroes, we are going to discuss Awakenings. If you don't want to be teased, like I think if I was watching, I might skip ahead here. So if you don't want to be teased, you don't have to watch this. When summoning a skeleton fighter, 25% chance to also summon a skeleton warrior. Keep in mind these are going in 2 tiles in front of him. So there's a 1 in 4 chance every single time he does his ult that he makes sure that he has the 2 summons he needs. The skeleton warriors are really good, right? They're even stronger and tankier. They get a more significant portion shared from Cyrus to them of his stats. So this is very, very, very strong, especially if you build him the way I would suggest. Maybe I'll eventually put out a guide on him soon. Eventually soon. That's kind of oxymoronic, but you know what I mean. If I get him, for sure you're getting a guide. You can count on that if I'm so lucky for that to happen. But you can get his ult coming so much, guys. You can really get it going so much. Let's go to the A2 here. So A2, for anyone that doesn't know with Legendary Lords, A2 is usually a boring one. It's like plus 300 attack, something like this, or plus 1200 HP. Or it can be useful, but it's not always game breaking. For Legendary Lords, it kind of is, because you will get a faction-wide bonus. So I'll just show you Cyrus here. All faction allies just permanently now get 5% penetration. So they're gonna ignore 5% of all the resistances and all the defenses of whomever they're hitting, right? How strong is that? Let's actually just go to the gallery so I can properly show you guys, so you can take my word for it. Let's go here, Curse Cult. Let's go to my girl Morrigan. So Morrigan, A1, whatever, basic attack damage. A2, plus 5%, whatever. But then look, all faction allies AoE damage, plus 5%. And that's just faction ally wide. It just improves. It buffs the Lord skill, right? Let's find one more. Let's go to Aracha, someone I would also love to get. Aracha, so if we go to the A2, now all faction allies damage to airborne units, which is like, come on, they're the marksman faction, plus 5%. Great, right? Really great stuff. So let's go back in here. Let's finish out those Awakenings. Let's finish out that tease job. You can see Awaken 3 summons 1 extra skeleton fighter when deployed. So when he's deployed, he's going to do a warrior and a fighter. That's great. Rage Regen auto plus 1. Let's get that ult coming even faster. So the auto, if you don't know, is the rage you generate per second. So if you have rage regen auto of 14, you're getting 4 rage points, 4 rage costs per second. Now it would go to 15, 1 extra per second. And then if we go to 5, upon death or retreat, summons 1 skeleton fighter. So even if he somehow dies, now he's going to throw up 1 more of his guys, right? Pretty good stuff. Really, really, really good stuff. If anyone's actually has a A5 and has tested this, I'm curious how this actually looks. Because I think if you got an A5 Cyrus, he's not dying. A little bit of me is wondering if this is saying if a skeleton fighter dies or retreats, it's summoned again, but that would be broken, I think. That would be very broken. It must be if somehow he dies, at least he's thrown out one last little good thing. But it's really this A2, which some people are going to get, which is crazy. I mean, that's just, extra slap-a-dappin', as we like to say. And of course, guys, Cyrus's base stats, tremendously high HP, over 28k. Defense, low. The defense is lower than I would like. I would like to see this defense at least at like 3,700 plus. This is like an Azor range. It is what it is. And then attack is very nice. Very nice, because he's going to do his damage based off of attack, and he is going to do damage. All in all, solid stats. A unique 2.5 second interval. This is the same as like Kineza. 14 Rage Regen Auto. It's a fairly standard kit with some really juiced up HP. It's a good kit. It's not like mind-blowing base stats, but these are good base stats, no question. Base block 3, that's the standard for a defender, right? And I guess the reason maybe it's his stats were too high, since he's sharing them with the warriors and the fighters, maybe it would be a little broken. Uredin, we are gonna save for last. Let's be honest, we have to. Pelagios, so good. He is an AoE magic damage dealing marksman. So the only magic damage dealers, to my knowledge, that I'm thinking of are going to be Hex and Lunaria. So he's doing that, but in a big AoE fashion. From people I've talked to that have him, his damage is pretty comparable to the top AoE magic damage dealers in the game, and that's from pretty limited testing because very few people have him. He just came out when the Supreme Arbiters came out. He looks amazing. He's freaking gosh darn Poseidon over here. I think this is my favorite design in the game. He's literally Poseidon. I mean, what's going on? He's got his pokey long hair going in the back. He's got this little Jason Momoa beard thing called Drogo action. He is really, really good. And what's interesting about him is he's got Radiant Erosion, as we'll discuss in a second, which is a unique kind of true damage to the Arbiters, and our boy Alistair has that too, right? Alistair, who a lot of us are going to start getting, I believe today people are going to already start summoning him. I'll probably have to wait a couple days before I have enough shards, but Alistair is our legendary hero fusion. So Pelagios, really cool hero, potentially a really power creepy hero. Cyrus and all the ancient legendary lords, kind of power creepy. And then the reason I'm saving Uredin for last, I think he's the definition of power creep. I haven't tested him yet because I don't know anyone that has him, and he wasn't on test server. But the second I can test him, I believe he was added to test server today. I'll check after this video. I will make a guide on him because he's going to be cracked. But it's Pelagios time. Crazy guy. So let's start off with those base stats. I've actually never looked at these before. Pretty darn nice. Pretty good stuff. So what are we looking at here? Standard HP for these kind of units. What I'm really reacting to is the attack. So if you think of an AoE piercer, they typically have their attack for legendaries is just over 4,000. So if you think of Razak or Nyx, I believe Kai's in that range too, but certainly Razak and Nyx are like the low 4,000s. So he's just under that, but he doesn't do piercing damage like those guys do. He is doing magic damage. He also has some true damage elements in his kit, of course. So this seems very, very fair. Attack speed, the attack interval, I should say, is the same as Kai, as Nyx, as Razak, as all our AoE marksmen. Feels like the standard for them. He has the very standard 14 rage regen auto. They're good base stats. I'd say it's pretty solid. I will say for an AoE damage dealer, if you were comparing him to mages, it's lower, right? It is going to be lower. So it's 3982. Let's actually hop into the gallery because it's nice to have a source of comparison. Let's sort by mages so we can show you a couple really quickly. I believe let's start with what we're talking about Comet. Let's talk about Comet again. So if we go to Comet, he's at 4633. That's pretty significant. Virna's going to be a bit lower, but still stronger than Pelagios, 4341. And the man of the hour, Boreas, where are you, buddy? Let's go to Boreas. He's going to be 4616, so just under Comet. So they are different, different classes. We're talking about a marksman here versus a mage, but they're both magic damage, so that is going to be noteworthy. Let's pull the guy back up. Overall, the base stats are good though. They're solid. It'll work, but it's going to be interesting to test him and see how it all comes out, how it all shakes out. So the talent summons tides every 12 seconds, dealing 200% true damage to targets in range. This is why they can't give him the crazy attack. 200% true damage. So he's going to get extra true damage from the Radiant Erosion that we'll discuss quickly, but this is straight up true damage. So what is true damage? People have asked me this before that don't know. No problem if you don't know. It's 100% damage, so it completely ignores 100% in that it's not mitigated in any way. It completely ignores magic, completely ignores resistances. The trade-off is it cannot crit, but 200% true damage AoE is a lot. It's a lot. With 30% chance to inflict 1 stack of Radiant Erosion. So I told you this is another way. So this is a kind of special true damage that actually scales off the defense of the target. So whichever, it says the carrier's defense, right? So whomever is carrying this debuff, it's going to scale off their defense. So if you've played other games with like max HP, this is going to be like a max defense kind of true damage that you inflict upon your target. Pretty unique. Every 2 seconds that's going to happen, stacking up to 3 stacks. It lasts for 10 seconds. A really interesting thing, Alistair has the same kind of thing in his kit. As time elapses in battle, the damage of the tides will increase gradually and its trigger interval will be shortened. I don't like that it's telling us by how much it increases and up until when, and how much it will be shortened and up until when, but I mean, we're starting at 12 seconds 200, which is pretty solid. It is a big true damage AoE, and this is going to go down, right? So maybe it goes up to 300%, maybe up to 400%, and maybe it goes down to 8 seconds or 6 seconds. It's going to be pretty significant, and because it's AoE, we're going to have more and more instances of it hitting more and more enemies, more and more opportunities to get that 30% chance to land that Radiant Erosion. Let's go now. They're really killing me with this. Another AoE where they say multiple enemies. It's going to be, I would assume, between 7 and 10, but I mean, I won't know till I test it. 120% though, and that's going to be magic damage, of course. Cool stuff. Let's go here. More chances to put out Radiant Erosion, so more true damage based off the target's defense. This is a very low-cost skill, and it's a very, very good skill. They're just not even joking around here. They're just calling it Poseidon's Fury. He's Poseidon, guys. So we're going to get him down to 600 cost when you max skill it up. It has a decent initial cost. Attacks 1 enemy in range, dealing up to 400% AoE magic damage, up to 10 nearby enemies, and inflicting 3 stacks of radiant erosion on the main target. So 3 stacks is the max stacks. So if it has 3 stacks, they're going to take some true damage every 2 seconds times 3. So whatever the normal thing is, which again, they're not really telling us, we'll have to calculate ourselves, but it's going to be 3 stacks of that. So it's going to be 3 instances every 2 seconds. Very good stuff. It's interesting the way they do this. It's 1 enemy in range. The reason they're focusing on the 1 enemy is because that's the main target. The main target is the one getting the radiant erosion. So I'm hoping, you know, there's no specific targeting outlined here, but I'm hoping it goes to like highest max HP or something, or highest defense, but who knows. But what it does do, up to 10 nearby enemies, right? So they're telling us there, it's pretty amazing that it is a proper AoE. It's gonna slap. This is gonna go up to 600% damage. Very, very strong. Let's keep going now to the passive Ocean's Mark. Poseidon's Fury has a 60% chance to create a tidal vortex. Remember, that was the ultimate. At the target's location, lasting for 3 seconds. A tidal vortex consistently draws enemies towards its center. So it's similar to, I believe it's called the Death Vortex, or the whatever vortex, that thing that, I'll just show you. The thing that Aeon does. I believe it's called Death Vortex or something like that. Aeon is the only other hero in the game right now that has this Death Vortex. Yes, she does a kind of this gravitational pull towards a point where she launches it. Pelagios will do the same kind of thing with a tidal vortex, but that's just nomenclature in the end of the day. So if we go back to Poseidon, I'm already messing it up. If we go back to Pelagios, he's going to create this tidal vortex. Draws enemies towards the center, and it's going to also deal 100% AoE damage per second. That's really nice. If the enemies are afflicted with radiant erosion, 1 stack of erosion will be consumed, dealing 600% true damage to the enemies. That's 600% true damage is very, very strong. We can get the trigger chance of this all the way up to 80%, and we can get it lasting for 5 seconds. So this is, it will consume 1 stack of the radiant erosion if that happens. That'll be very strong. And then also this per second, you are going to want this skilled up, because then instead of 3 seconds, so over those per second, you're getting 300% AoE magic damage. Now at 5 seconds, you'll get 500% AoE magic damage. Very, very strong. Really good ability. And again, more strength of AoE in his kit. Final passive here, guys. When there are more than 5 enemies in range, there's a 30% chance of casting Poseidon's Fury repeatedly on random enemies. This can be triggered at most 2 consecutive times. If there are more than 10 enemies, the trigger chance is doubled. The trigger chance is 30%. It can go all the way up to, let's do the math, 40%. It can happen multiple times, 2 in a row. So you could basically have, you could do it, and then there could be 2 additional times. You could have 3 triggers of his ultimate. So if you wanted to run something over and over, like if you're thinking Gear Raid 1 for the right RNG, you will get runs where he just pops off with the ultimate. That's why he can put up such crazy numbers. I've seen crazy numbers out of him. We need more AoE content probably for heroes like him to truly shine. We'll have to see. But for Gear Raid 1, he is going to be a top tier choice. Super good stuff. Let's now go to the his arena passive. All the arbiters, just like all the chaotic units, all have a special arena passive. Arena attack increased, so it's increased by 15%. So he's going to get a lot stronger there. Now let's go here. His cost is 22, so slightly high, right? So that's about 2 cost higher than Firna. That'd be Comet, I believe, is at 19, right? So that's 3 cost higher than Comet. But all in all, really good. The reason he's 22, that is the legendary AoE Piercer cost. That's how much Nyx costs. That's how much Kai costs. That's how much Razak costs. He really does deal a lot of true damage. He deals a lot of AoE. There's a lot of crazy stuff in his kit, and he looks amazing. So he's going to help a lot of people. He's the kind of hero that I don't know if he'd immediately help my account, but he'd certainly be an amazing hero on my account, and he looks awesome. So I'd be pretty stoked to get him and test him out. Let's go to the Awakenings now. Each title release restores an additional 10% rage, so he's really going to be popping off because he's already got that pretty cheap ult, and if he's getting an extra 10% rage every time he's doing his waves of tides, which remember, the frequency is increasing, the frequency is going down, it's becoming more common as the battle goes on. So if you're in a long GR1 battle, it's going to be very often he's doing those tides from his talent, and he's getting the 10% rage. Now here's what we talk about, the boring A2s. He's not a legendary lord, so just 5% attack, it's fine. Now, if we go here, A3, Poseidon's Fury deals damage to 4 more targets. So Poseidon's Fury being the AoE here on the ultimate. So it's up to 10 now. Now it's going to be up to 14. That's a big difference. If we go to the A4 now, plus 8% crit rate. The A2s and the A4s are usually the boring ones. And now this one's pretty crazy. Basic attack is a 10% chance to create a tidal vortex for 4 seconds. So you can just have these non-stop crowd control effects. If you're running like a Piercer team, or you're just running him alongside a Cultist team, it's going to work oh so beautifully, right? This is crowd control, and it's going to be happening all the time with that 10% chance if you build him with a decent attack speed. And of course, the other ways that he's triggering his tidal vortex. Really cool hero, really fun hero. And now, Uredin. He's definitely going to be the man of the week. This is who everyone's going to be talking about. Everyone you know is going to be talking about him if they're into the game. Uredin's cracked out. He's got huge AoE. He's got huge magic damage. He's got really good execution, just like a Virna or something. He's got this thing called, you're not even going to believe it. Oh my god, what's it called? Let's get it back. The Potent Surge, where basically he can double up on his ult for just even crazier abilities with his skills. Let's let his kit speak for itself. I put out a big video on Uredin when I first heard that he was going to get added to the game. It's a popular video. You guys can go search it. If you search Watcher of Realms Uredin, I'm sure it'll be the first hit. If we go to the talent here, let's just get right into it. After the ultimate is cast, I will also say his kit is confusing as heck, so buckle up. After the ultimate is cast, basic attack will turn into Phantom Strike for 15 seconds. If the ultimate is cast when Potent Surge maxes out, basic attack will turn into Soul Harvest for 15 seconds. So what is going on? Bear with me, we have lots of text to read. So a Phantom Strike is going to be dealing 150% AoE damage to, now they're giving us numbers, to up to 10 enemies in the range of the ultimate. If the ultimate is cast when Potent Surge maxes out, what is that? Well, Potent Surge is that you can continue to build rage even after his ultimate meter is full. And it can go all the way up to a second filling of the ultimate meter, if you can imagine that. If you imagine your bar lining up and filling up under your hero, it can happen twice for him, and then you get these really special abilities. So Rage Cap can continue to recover after reaching the cap, accumulating up to 2 times the cap. So instead of just 1 accumulation, a second. All rage will be consumed when casting the ult, but this is worth it, because if you do that, then basic attacks will turn into Soul Harvest. So what are Soul Harvests? Well, deals 120% AoE damage twice to at most 10 enemies in the ultimate range. Let's compare that. Phantom Strike, the normal thing, right? After the ultimate is going to be 150% AoE damage to 10 enemies. Now we're getting a double hitter, 120%, so basically 240%, again, up to 10 enemies. Very, very strong, lasting for 15 seconds. Let's go deeper into this crazy kit here, guys. This is ridiculous AoE fighter, AoE magic damage, just execution hero, nutty stuff. So up to 5 enemies, now we're doing numbers again, which is what I like to see. 100% AoE damage, this goes up to 120%. It's worth noting that's a good basic attack, but what makes this basic attack special is that when you trigger the ultimate, now you're either going to turn this into a Phantom Strike or Soul Harvest, which is what's crazy, crazy strong. Let's go to Obliterating Blast. This is the ultimate. It's a normal cost here at 1,000, but it does get kind of cheap at only 800 when you skill him out. If you pull Uredin, you will max skill him. Whether you're able to do it in 1 day or 3 months, you will do it. There's no doubt in my mind. Up to 10 enemies here in a large range ahead, dealing 300% AoE damage and inflicting stun. Let's check the duration on that stun. Solid at 1 second. When Potent Surge maxes out now, so if you're able to, you know, get the Rage Cap load up twice, now you're gonna get a special ultimate. So not just a good ultimate, but now you get the special version. So that's maxed out. Now it's gonna be 10 enemies in a large range, 800% AoE damage and inflicting stun. This one lasts for 3 seconds. So you get a big boy stun, 3 times stronger stun, and you go up from 300% damage to 800% damage. When you max this out, it's gonna go from 500 to 1,000. That is very, very good. Oh, excuse me. It's going to go from 500, that's the normal damage, to at Potent Surge, it's actually going to go to 1,200. So a 1,200% AoE. Crazy, crazy strong. That's 700% stronger, right, than if you hadn't waited for the second fill up and done the Potent Surge. Costs very, really good. Like I said, it's going to be one of the best ults in the game, guys. Let's go to the passive here. Phantom Rage. A lower HP grants a higher rage regen auto. So this is like how much he generates per second, like I said, with a maximum increase of 9 when HP reaches 30% or lower. Worth mentioning, he's a cultist, but he also has the chaotic dual faction membership. So as his HP gets lower, he gets stronger, just like they all do. And this is a crazy way for him to get stronger. If he's at 30% health or less, every second he gets an extra 9 points of cost towards his ultimate. So he can then be getting those big buildups of Potent Surge and be triggering Potent Surge, getting close to a clip that you'd expect out of the triggering of a normal ultimate, right? And this Rage Cap increase, the Rage Regen auto increase to the cap, that's going to increase with skill ups. So we get, what is this, 4, 6, so it goes from 15 a second. You get an additional 15 Rage Regen auto per second. Let's actually go to the hero details really quickly. I wanted to save this for the end, but you can see it starts at a fairly low 12, but it can go up to 27, which is shockingly strong. Very good stuff. So you're going to want to find ways to keep his health fairly low, but you obviously don't want him dying. Well, good thing he's got Unyielding. Let's get into it. Arbiter of Death, when dealing damage using Soul Harvest, which is what happens when you trigger his ultimate. That's what happens to the basic attack. If he's got the 2 fill-ups of his Rage Cap, there's a 20% chance. This goes up to a 30% chance to execute enemies. So execute enemies is if they're under a certain threshold, which we'll go over now. Virna has the same thing. So Virna, when he maxed out, if the enemies are under 35% health and you trigger the ability, it will just instantly kill them. Like they're executed, right? He's got a similar thing here. So there's a 20% chance to execute enemies, excluding elites and bosses. That is the standard, whose HP is below 25%. But you can see the threshold can increase by plus 5%, plus 5%. So that is going to go up to 35%, just like Virna, right? So basically, if they have a third of their health or less, essentially, they will get executed upon this. So that's why you really want to get the double load ups. You want to max out the Potent Surge because you really want that Soul Harvest. It doesn't just hit harder, but now you can execute, right? So you get a 20% chance. You can get this up to a 30% chance. Just tremendous. That, and you can also get up to a 35% threshold that he's just going to execute everybody. It hits up to 10 enemies, right? So super strong. When receiving fatal damage during the effect of Phantom Strike and Soul Harvest. So now this applies to both. So as long as the ult is active, then he's going to do either of those abilities instead for his basic attack for 15 seconds. If he receives fatal damage in that window, that 15-second window, the hero can enter Unyielding. And Unyielding is basically unkillable. That's going to last for 5 seconds, which can be triggered up to 1 time per deployment. So every time you deploy him, it will only happen again is if he dies, you redeploy him, or you retreat him and you redeploy him. But if we look here, this can go up to 7 seconds. So he'll have one instance where he can stay alive for a long time and have a great way to recover. He's insane. He's insane. This hero is insane. Let's wrap it up here with, of course, like I said, with the Arbiters. It's the same thing with the Chaotix. They all get a special arena passive. Reduces hero cost by 15. This guy is going to be PvP God. No question about it. PvP God. You have tons of time between waves, at least the way PvP is now, where you're waiting. That's just more and more time for Mr. Uredin to regen, and get to that Potent Surge of the double ult fill-up, right? You can see here he's 20 cost, which is the same as Virna. It's solid. I guess slightly high for a fighter. That's the same as like Volca. But in the arena, it's going to be really dirt cheap at 15. Which is super strong. He's crazy. Multi-target execution, that's all true. Big boy damage, and now for the base stats. I didn't save this for the end by accident, like I kind of did with Cyrus. Here, I meant to save it for the end because this is crazy. 6189. I don't know if that jumps off the page, but for a magic damage-dealing fighter, that is so by far the strongest we have in the game, and it's not even close. It really isn't. This comp here would be Falcia, who of course is single target, but she also has hybrid damage, so only half of her damage is coming as magic. The other ones would be like Sealatu or something. I guess we have to go to the gallery just so I can really prove this point. If you want to see me really dive into it, go to my Uredin video. That will explain everything very, very clearly. Let's go to everyone's favorite. Let's go to Sealatu. So this is another hero who does, and she doesn't even really do AoE. You know, she can spam stuff out really quick, but she's not really doing AoE. Let's see what her, as maybe the top magic damage dealing fighter in the game, let's see what she's able to do. Or for base attack. 46-36. Now we've got an AoE version who has all these crazy multipliers that we just broke down. It goes on and on and on. And he's got 61 plus, right? Well, let's get that exact number. He's got a base attack of 6189. How crazy is that? I mean, Salazar, who does physical damage and single target, he's at like 6,500. Now here, Uredin comes in at 6,189. He's like the magic version of Ardia, plus he has Execute, plus he has the Potent Surge, this, that, and the other, right? I'm not even joking. This is, I can, maybe privately I can show people receipts. My dev contact messaged me, and I guess that could have been my first warning that Uredin was coming to the game soon. I had a hunch, but I didn't know it would be this soon. She said to me, Fastidious, how did you, because I was the one that put out the Uredin video before anyone else, right? Because I heard it and I was like, wow. I did the breakdown. She's like, what about his kit when you read it let you know he'd be so strong? They actually were like, wow, does he read that strong? He reached out to me. He said, the devs are wondering and they wanted me to ask you, what about his kit let you know he'd be that strong? Because I still haven't tested him to this day, but they were just like, wow, that's scary if he already knew he was that strong before he's even tested him. So maybe they already nerfed him a little bit somehow. Who knows? I mean, we just read the kit. It reads the same way, right? That's crazy. 6189. My God. With those multipliers, with those special abilities, with that execute, it's outrageous. With 10 targets every time, it is outrageous. Attack interval, not good, right? 3.5 seconds. Good. If he had a 2-second attack interval, he's already going to power creep. You'll see. He's already going to power creep. But there you go. He actually even has pretty good HP. Defense is okay. It's solid here. The cost, like I said, is slightly high. But of course, in Arena, it's dirt cheap. All in all, really good. Rage regen is low, but his rage regen auto, but his rage regen is going to be super high when that passive's triggering, which is a lot. So he's actually at times going to be the highest rage regen auto hero in the entire game. I think I've sold you guys on him. He's insanity. Insanity. He also has a real Dark Souls look to him, and you guys know I love Dark Souls, so that's super fun. Let's go here now to his awakenings. There are going to be people that will... If you're that person, let me know in the comments, and maybe we can do the pulls for you. I think there are going to be people that don't stop pulling Ancients till they get it May 5. I think it's not going to be common, but people are going to do it. There's going to be a couple people in the world that do it. Anyway, Awaken 1. During the effect of Unyielding, that's from one of his passives, remember, as long as it's 15 seconds since the triggering of the ultimate, granted by Arbiter of Death, so that is the passive, there you go. Increases attack speed by 200. Why not? Let's make this guy even stronger. When the effect ends, restore 50% HP. So his A1, honestly, some people, the normal Krakens, will just try to get him A1, because that's insane. So it's like the same thing as like Baron at A5, where it's like when his Unyielding ends, he pops back up 50% health. So this is going to just ensure he continues on if the healing didn't line up or this thing or the other thing, right? That is so insane. And 200 attack, that's several milliseconds off of his attack speed, right? Of his attack interval, I should say. So if maybe you built him down to like 2.6 seconds, maybe it wasn't the highest attack speed build, when you add another 200 attack speed, you're going to be at like 2.2 seconds or 2.1 seconds, which is a huge difference, right? A half a second faster. So if we go here to A2, 15% crit damage, pretty nice, but not mind-blowing. And now it is mind-blowing. When Potent Surge maxes out, damage of Obliterating Blast ignores 40% of the target's magic resistance. So because he's doing magic damage, magic resistance is the real mitigation. So it's almost like a 40% ignore defense, but the magic version of that. So as long as he maxes out his Potent Surge, which is going to be his best use, right? The damage is going to be mind-blowing. Awaken 4 here, penetration plus 8%. Penetration is, that means he's going to ignore 8% defense and another 8% of resistances, right? So this is going to go from 40% because he had him A3 already, so now it's like 48% as long as that all lines up, and then just a base case of 8%, both to resistances and damage that gets ignored. And then A5, boy, for each enemy taking damage from Obliterating Blast, that is the ultimate, increases attack by 5% for 15 seconds, stacking up to 5 stacks. So this is just basically a guaranteed 25% thing as long as you're doing AoE content. As long as he's hitting 5 enemies, he will get 5 stacks, and that will be a 15-second 25% increase to attack. That is a post-deployment increase. He already has the crazy base attack. So let's say you built him with 20, let's keep it easy for me. Let's say you built him with 20,000 attack. So using his base attack, you put gear on him, you put artifacts, you had your Pantheon this, let's say he was at 20,000 attack, now it's 25,000. And it's going to be happening all the time. He gets another 25% of that, so an extra 5,000, 25,000 attack. And by the time you got him A5, he's got the penetration, he's got during the Potent Surge, ignoring 40% of the magic resistance. This is a truly broken hero. This is the definition of power creep. He's going to be really rare, but some people are going to go bonkers. Like I said, with you Krakens, we're going to separate the boys from the men on this banner, and that's how I'm going to wrap this thing up. This is bonkers. I know I went long in this video, guys, but these are very exciting heroes, and I wanted to dive deep. At the beginning, I said, we're going to see how deep we dive. Well, I think we dove pretty dope. Into the depths, we dove. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. I've been Fastidious. If you like my stuff, like it. Comment. We can chat down in the comments. I answer every comment. Share with your mother. Happy holidays. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.
Fastidious.